Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back, everyone. Today's guest is Julian Liniger. He is the co-founder and CEO of Relai. Relai is onboarding users in a KYC-free or as close to it as you can manner. They still have to have your IBAN number, but they don't take any other details. It's a pretty interesting concept and it's available to people in Europe. I had a really good chat with him. We had some technical issues as is usual, but actually not on my end for once. I had some issues also with background noise. I've really done my best to edit all of that out and make it as clear as possible. It's worse for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, something like that, but I hope it's bearable. I hope you still enjoy. Definitely gets better as the interview goes on. There were some long gaps and pauses which I've edited out, so we ran a little bit over, so it's a little bit of a shorter one this episode. But yeah, really enjoyed chatting to him, really like what he's built, and yeah, go check it out. For anyone who is in the UK and is looking to stack sats, you're looking to dollar cost average, don't forget my sponsors, CoinFloor UK. They have incredible security. They're very, very upfront. I love their team, and I want to say thank you for sponsoring the show and allowing me to continue with it. I really do appreciate it, and it's well worth checking them out. It is worth also using my referral code. That is in the show notes. It gives me a little bit of help when you do stack sats. I get a little bit of a kickback from it. I'll always be open about things like that, but at the same time, it does help and actually bring your fees down as well. So check it out, go to the link and enjoy stacking those delicious sats. Julian,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Hello, I can hear you well. Thanks, Max. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very, very well. Sorry if you could hear a snorting in the background. That was my my dog sat on my lap snorting down the microphone.
Awesome. Easy, I love that.
Yeah, a little Frenchie, so he sounds a little bit like a pig.
Nice. I used to have a little Chihuahua together with my ex-girlfriend. Unfortunately, the Chihuahua then stayed with the girlfriend, of course. Well, probably was a good idea for him. But yeah, I like little dogs.
They're sassy, those Chihuahuas. They have a big character,
They do.
don't
They do. He was a nice guy though. I really like this little fucker.
So, yeah, thanks for joining me, mate. I've been looking at Relai and listening through. I didn't know you guys had your own podcast, so I was listening through a little bit of that today. I've been looking at Relai for some time, actually. Or is it Relai you pronounce it? Or
Relai? Yes, Relai. Mm-hmm.
Relai, okay. But yeah, it's cool. It's a nice thing to have a sort of middle ground where you have not full KYC, but it's somewhere in the middle of peer-to-peer and exchanges. And I think that has a good fit for a lot of people. So yeah, I was excited to jump into that with you.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah, I mean, I was really happy to come on the show. I've heard of it. I've never actually listened to it myself, to be honest, but I've heard of it, and I think a lot of, especially like real Bitcoiners, I guess, is your audience.
The plebs.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, it's the plebcast. I try and have it so that I only have people on or businesses on that I think are good for the space. I don't do the sort of I don't know, like the carousel of finance guys and all that kind of stuff too much. It's trying to sort of push privacy and talk about the stuff that really matters in Bitcoin. You know, the reason that I'm here and most of the people who stick around are here. And really, that is freedom. And it's something that I think is so important and that I think a lot of people who are first coming into the space really miss. And it takes some time. You sort of go further and further down the rabbit hole, and then you suddenly go, shit, you know, I shouldn't have done the KYC stuff. Oh my God, I should have held my own keys out. And you learn all these things. So I try and push that, and so that listeners don't get caught out.
Cool.
That's the idea with it. So what's your story? Like, how did you come into this space, and how did Relai come about? And how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting into this space slowly but steadily in 2015, where I talked to some of my nerd friends, especially one nerd friend that I had since like kindergarten. I remember chilling at his place back then, and we were talking, and he was telling me about this thing called Bitcoin, and there are like thousands of these strange cryptocurrencies out there, and it's internet money, and it works without banks. And I was like, cool, sounds really fascinating. And then he got me into some of these things. I bought one Bitcoin back then through him, because it was too complicated for me. I thought it was too much of a pain to go to these exchanges and making these accounts, and it's just all too complicated, too technical for me. So I asked him to buy one on my behalf. I gave him $500 cash, and he bought it for me, and he held it for me on the exchange, on this some strange exchange. I don't remember what it was. Maybe even Antigox, I don't know. And then that worked out for like a couple of months. And then when Bitcoin hit like $600, I asked him to sell it again, and he sold it again and gave me back the $600. And I thought I was the genius, made $100. That's basically how I got into it. But then didn't really fall into the rabbit hole, because I just didn't think it was a big deal back then. I didn't spend the time that would actually have been necessary to, really do the deep dive on it, do the research on it and everything. So I didn't really understand what it was. I just thought it was a cool, magic internet money thing. But then beginning of 2017, when I kind of noticed that this is not going away, it's not going away anymore. It's still here, and more people are interested in it. The value is higher. Back then it was like 1K, I think. Then I was really thinking, that could be a long-term, very cool thing. So then I got deeper and deeper in it, and did my research and did my homework, and then I actually, it made click, and that I understood it. And from there on, I was actually working towards having a career in this as well. So I wanted to make this kind of hobby also the professional focus of mine.
You were saying, obviously, you had some nerdy, more technical friends who helped you at the beginning. So I'm guessing that wasn't initially your background. What were you doing before getting involved in Bitcoin? Was it finance or something completely different?
Yeah, actually, I studied psychology. I did a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I did a master in business administration. And while doing this, I worked at a bank at some point. So I was interested in finance and tried to get some finance knowledge and experience. Worked for a bank. Then I worked for in management consulting, small management consulting company, for around 4.5 years, until I then founded my own, the first company, Bregas, which where we still are doing some consulting work here and there, but there we focus on Bitcoin and blockchain and crypto finance, like trying to give traditional financial service providers access to this space. And then obviously after that I founded Relai, where I spend most of my time on now. That's basically my background.
Okay, cool. the move, was there a move to go to Switzerland, or were you already there? Because I know obviously some of the regulations and environment are a little bit better for Bitcoiners out there
Yeah.
than other places. Were you already living in Switzerland?
Yes, I do have the privilege to be born and raised and living still in Switzerland. That's basically also, it was not actually a very strategic decision, to be honest, to choose this place, to choose this jurisdiction, even though, as you said, it's the best jurisdiction probably to do something like that in the world. Very, very crypto and Bitcoin friendly. KYC, AML, anti-money laundering, all that stuff is very, very progressive and open here, and also politics and everything. Government is very open and very decentralized, and so it's the best. It's actually one of the best jurisdictions you can be as a Bitcoin startup, and I had the luck and the privilege to just happened. I just happened to live here, so I started here. Yeah.
Do you think that played into your view of Bitcoin? If you're already in a place that is a little bit more free thinking, a little bit more smart about the way they manage their currency, do you think that played into your understanding of Bitcoin at the beginning?
I don't know. It could also be the opposite, because as you say, we have like probably the best. Oh, sorry, that was my email. I'm just closing it. We probably have one of the best currencies in the world. Very solid currencies. Swiss francs always very solid against all the other currencies. We don't have big inflation, and we don't have any political problems. We trust our government quite a lot. We have a very well functioning democracy, very nice political environment, very stable legal conditions and everything. So if one nation doesn't need Bitcoin, then it's probably Switzerland.
Very true. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't really feel the pain, and didn't feel like Bitcoin is a solution for the pain, which almost every other country quite feels more. Especially South American, African, Asian countries and so forth. Even the US and then a lot of European countries as well. But in Switzerland,
the
you don't
UK
really feel
for
this.
sure.
Also the UK,
but not so much the currency side. Most people don't know enough to understand what's happening to their savings, but definitely there's more of a mistrust here, government-wise, for most people.
Okay.
Anyone who's paying any attention, it's definitely a little bit easier in that sense, I think, to wrap your head around. But you're absolutely right. The people who get it first, the people who understand it straight away, are people who need it usually, and they're like, oh, that just makes sense. But even though I don't trust my government here at all, I still am in a place of privilege in comparison to a lot of places in the world. It's pretty safe where we are, and we don't have massive issues with the money. Like, it's not great, but it's not as bad as other places. So I think most people just don't wake up to it for that reason. They're like, I'm comfortable enough.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like, we're comfortable, we're privileged fucks, actually.
Yeah,
that's why we
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we don't see that problem, and that's why we probably don't understand. Like, people in these other countries, emerging countries, they understand it earlier than we do here, I think, in these privileged countries, because for them it's a solution to a problem. It's really a need that they feel, and they need to. They have pressure. They have sense of urgency. They need to do something about it. They need to find alternatives. And for us, it's just really, okay, it's a cool thing. Kind of a number goes up. Okay, let's speculate a little bit with it. That's more how a lot of Swiss people and probably also European people feel. Oh, I see you kind of are disconnected. I don't even know if I'm still recording. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hey.
I lost you there.
Yeah,
I lost you.
Sorry for that.
That's okay.
It looked, on my side, it looked like I lost you, but it probably was my problem here because of some internet connection, something.
That's okay. Well, it makes a change because it's usually my internet that cuts out and causes problems. So at least I'm not the only one now. But no problem at all. I can't remember where we got cut off there. Basically, to say that we are lucky fucks to be where we
Exactly.
are. But it doesn't mean that there isn't massive room for improvement. And I think that's what Bitcoin brings. And for any of us who lurk around on Bitcoin Twitter enough and who are obsessive enough. I think it's clear as day that this is the future. This is the new financial system, and it is infinitely better than what we currently have, no matter where you are or where you're living. So what was it that drew you in? Can you remember a time, you were saying you're buying at 500, you sell at 600, and
What drew me in is like when I did my. Oh, sorry. I think you're going again. Oh fuck! I'm so sorry. Wait a second.
I lost you again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
here again now. But let me just switch to. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so 1 second now. I'm just switching to another Wi-Fi. All right. What about now? Now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Awesome. I think now it should really work. Like if that
Cool.
does not get strange, I'm really sorry because
That's
we
all right.
don't have that. Yeah.
Like I say, it is usually me. I have two separate internets that I pay for here, one upstairs, one downstairs, and I have problems with both constantly. So
Exactly the same problem here.
yeah, it's crazy.
So what drew me in to Bitcoin, and I'm talking the second incident when I actually did the rabbit hole and deep dive into it, is the savings technology and digital gold aspect of it. So even we talked about it before. A lot of inflation, you can't really save your money. You're losing purchasing power every year due to inflation, due to zero or even negative interest rates, due to banking fees and everything. So you're actually losing money every year. That's very apparent in emergent countries, where Venezuela currency, Zimbabwe currencies, they can lose hundreds of even thousands of % each year. So there's actually no way you can save with fiat currency there. In Switzerland, it's a bit different. For example, also in the US, at first sight at least, like you see, okay, we have a 1% inflation. That's okay. Maybe 1.5% per year. Not too bad. You don't really feel it. It's not acute. It's not that prices double every year, but it is. I mean, 1% in 50 years, it's half of your savings are gone, and this 1% is what the government says it is. So, but then a lot of experts call it the real inflation. Which is funny because okay, there's a fake inflation that the government tells us, and then there's a real inflation, right? Because the real inflation takes into account the price increases not only in the basket that the government takes as an index, but it takes everything, and that includes huge aspects of our life, like services. On goods like real estate or like healthcare and stuff like that is not in the index basket, but that's actually these are the areas where prices increase most, and that's why they have a big influence on inflation. So basically, you can assume that if the kind of fake inflation or the official inflation, if that's 1%, then the real inflation is usually between 3 and 10x higher. So in Switzerland, the real inflation is something around 5%. I think in the US and in a lot of other European countries where they target the 2 to 3% official inflation, then you can probably imagine that the real inflation is around 10%, which is huge. And that's also what, Michael Saylor and all these big guys are talking about now. All these guys that put big parts of their treasury, of their companies' treasuries into Bitcoin. That's exactly the reason, that reason to have a hedge against this financial system and the inflation that goes crazy. And that's what drew me in and like kind of convinced me about of Bitcoin back then in 2017.
The melting ice cube, as Saylor says.
Exactly.
I think we all feel it, whether people understand economics or not. People will say, oh, 5 years ago, I'd go and do my shop and it was less than half what it is now. Now I can't get out of the shop. I go in for milk and it's £100. And you're like, yes, this is what I keep fucking telling you. This is why I'm talking to you about Bitcoin. And everyone knows that these prices keep going up and that the cost of living goes up and the wages stay the same. And so people understand it, but like you say, they then look at the figures provided by the government and they're like, oh, that's reasonable, 1%, 2%.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, but they know deep down that it's a lie. They just can't put their finger on it. So you worked that out and you realize, okay, this is something that is a great way to store my value. And then how long did it take until you sort of fully immersed yourself in this and got to the stage of sort of thinking, well, I want to actually start a business and I want to actually work in this industry? You know, it's quite a big leap to do it. It's still quite fringe even now. I don't know how long you've actually been doing what you're doing, but to most people, they'd probably call you crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it took me around 1.5 years then to actually make the jump, you know, from a nice, you know, job, well-paid job and security and everything, to make the jump transition to be full-time in Bitcoin. You know, it's two aspects to it. One is you're already called crazy, at least in Switzerland, if you make this leap to build a startup and be self-employed. Because here in Switzerland, wages are so high, especially if you did university. Like, you can just get out of university and get a nice job and earn between 8 and 10K per month, you know. And so who in his sane mind would consider to you know, leave such a job where you have to work 40 hours and you gain 8 to 10K, and you know, you basically just become rich just by, you know, doing an easy work. Easy job. And who would consider, you know, leaving such a job and starting a business where 9 out of 10 fail, and you're sure that for at least 1 or 2 years you're not going to earn anything, like you're basically going to almost sleep on the couch of a friend, you know, like this startup grind. Who would do that? So already if you go into a startup, then people already call you crazy. I mean, my mom said, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, just go out and make a career. You're a smart guy. Like, what? Why would you do that?" And then the second aspect is, if you do that in Bitcoin, you know, then everybody thinks like, this guy is just insane. He lost his mind, like, totally. Yeah, I heard that a lot.
I bet.
But so that's why also it took me really like 1.5 years to. So I spent some time. So beginning of 2017, I got into Bitcoin, and then I invested, and some of my money, and obviously did very, very well, like everyone else in 2017. So that I could finance an exchange semester in California with the gains, with the shitcoin gains that I made back then. And when I came back from California, that was beginning of 2018. Then for me it was clear, okay, you know, that's really it. I want to do entrepreneurship, and I want to do something in Bitcoin. But then it still took me from there. It still took me, 1.5 years until then. Really, I could, because I had to finish my studies, and then I was still working 60% to pay my bills, and already, you know, working on the idea and everything for a year and a half, and then really summer last year. Then it was the time where we launched the app, and the same day I launched the app, I quit my job, and then I went all in. Mm-hmm.
I love how Bitcoin allows this in some ways. If you stay around long enough and you have enough conviction and you decide this is somewhere you want to work, it allows you this time. You know, it allows people who have been smart and they've hodled and they haven't fucked around and they've held on. It allows them this time where I can't think of any other asset that can have these sort of moves and allow so much freedom from holding it. You know, if you hold for that 4 years or so, you can then actually go out and create something. And what's interesting is that most people end up wanting to start something that pushes this industry further forward. And that's a really cool aspect.
That's very cool. Yeah, if you're early and you hodl, then you get rewarded with, you know, time. Just because currency gains value, and then you gain time with that. You don't have to work every day to pay your bills, but you can actually free yourself and then do what you like. And obviously, for a lot of these people, doing what they like is supporting Bitcoin and doing something on Bitcoin. And then because of that, they enhance the value of it, and then more people can do this, and that's really the magic of it, right? So it's like a self-fulfilling circle also. that gets more and more people in, more and more people kind of get wealthy, or at least wealthy enough so that they don't depend on a job, and then they can do more for Bitcoin, which makes Bitcoin more healthy, more healthy again, and more successful. And that's goes on and on and on for 10 years now, and see where we're at now.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like a living thing. It takes people in, and once you're in, I don't think many people want to leave. Once you really wrap your head around what this thing can do, and you suddenly have more time to actually think a little bit deeper about, how do I want this world to look for me and for my children? How do I want to spend my time that I have? You know, you work out time is the only thing that is more scarce than Bitcoin for us. And what do we want to do with it? One day we're going to die. And when you're on your deathbed, I think most people want to say, I did some good in this world. And I can't think of a better place to spend time than in this industry and the amount of freedom it can allow. Was it always that you wanted to allow people to use an on-ramp? Did you always have an idea that that's what part of Bitcoin you wanted to go into, or were there other ideas that didn't quite make the cut?
Yes, no, it was really always the kind of a pressure that I had, or like like I was always driven to do that. I had the passion also for that, because that's where I felt I can help most, to make Bitcoin successful, and that's also where I saw the biggest problem that people still had. I mean, I really had a lot of people in my network, my friends and colleagues and family, and all of these people, they wanted to get into Bitcoin. Like, they wanted to try at least with 50 or $100, or, maybe setting up a savings plan with $20 a week. So just, have a small exposure to it. Like, a lot of people wanted to try it. And as we know, once people try it, then obviously they kind of have skin in the game, and so they get educated, they research about it, they read about it, and at one point everybody kind of understands it. And once they understood it, they're convicted, and almost nobody leaves again. If you're once into Bitcoin and you once understood it and you once hodled it a little bit, then most people don't go back. But the problem was really that, so I saw a lot of interest in that from normal people on the street. But then the big problem was that this barrier was just too big. And that's why we still have only 1% of the world's population owning Bitcoin now, because it's just, in my opinion, still too complex for normal people that don't have a tech or finance, expertise. It's way too complex. I mean, people are struggling with their e-bankings, right? Still. A lot of people are still struggling with e-banking. How can they use something like Binance or Kraken? It's just way too much for them. And so that's what I wanted to change. I really wanted to have an easy I wanted to onboard people who wanted to be on board. And first I kind of tried with this consulting approach as well. So I tried to help just in my private, like as a private person, tried to help set up these people with all these accounts and the wallets, and explain them, you need to hold your private key and blah, blah, how everything works. But then obviously very fast, I came to the conclusion that that's not scalable at all. I mean, if we need to onboard 99% of the world population, then probably it's not going to work with just one-to-one coaching.
Just you in their kitchen.
That would be quite some hours to spend, right? And so it wasn't really scalable, the whole consulting approach. And then so the next idea, which was the next logical step, was to make this software based so that everybody can do it him or herself. And so it was quite clear that we needed an app for that, and we needed to make it very easy, within 1 minute, and we needed to do it without all this onboarding KYC bullshit and uploading selfies somewhere and doing video calls with some legal people and stuff. So we solved that. And then here we are now with a very simple app that has basically 4 buttons: buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, send Bitcoin, receive Bitcoin. And so it's basically everybody can understand this. We have customers that are 86 years old. We have customers that are 8 years old. And we have customers, really, it's really funny. Some people working on construction and barely use a laptop or even have a laptop, but everybody has a smartphone and everybody can use things like WhatsApp or Tinder or, and now they have something like that to buy and sell Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like you say, getting the app to be simple is so important, and stripping out all of that bullshit that you're talking about, the uploading of the selfies, all of this stuff that is not only a pain in the ass to do, but it's also stupid and dangerous because someone has to store that data, and we know that these exchanges are not very good at keeping that safe. And especially with a bearer asset like Bitcoin, it's a very, very stupid idea to be asking for all of that. So I love that you have an app that is so simple that, like you're saying, people who aren't tech savvy can use it. People of all ages can use it, because I've found that as much as I shill BISC and hodl and say to people, maybe consider mining or maybe consider just buying off friends for cash, the reality is that the majority of the world are not going to do that. And most people are not ready to set up their cold card and have their own keys stored and do all this kind of stuff all at once. When you just say to someone, here's Bitcoin, here's what it can do, it can preserve your wealth. And they're like, okay, cool. So what do I do? And you're like, right, you want to buy this hardware wallet, have your seeds, stamp them into steel, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, whoa, it's too much. It's too much. So I kind of see it's like a stepping stone. It's like, why don't you do this, which is, it's 80% of the way there, and it isn't completely KYC-less, but it's much better and it's simple. And that's brilliant. That I think is really, really cool. So how did you get to a point? Is this something that's just because you're in Switzerland, or are you just worked things out in a clever way where you can get around this? Because it seems like every other company is asking for more and more information, and you guys are asking for the bare minimum, which is great.
It's both. It's a combination of both. It's because we're in Switzerland, this is actually possible. It's almost not possible it's not possible in any EU countries. In any EU country, they have different legislations. In Germany, for example, like every transaction, crypto to fiat transaction, is KYC. It requires KYC, even if it's $10. In Switzerland, we have these limits. So we have a limit up to 1K per day per user, and 100K per year per user. This doesn't require KYC. So the KYC and AML regulation in Switzerland are very cool, very open. They're limit-based. So that's a big factor. That's factor number one. But number two is also we found a quite clever setup where we never hold the money of our users, and we found a way to because you need to make sure in this setup that the money that is being sent is from the same person that already also gets the Bitcoin. Otherwise, it would not be compliant. So if you could send us money and then and then we would send the Bitcoin to someone else, that would be not KYC, that would be not AML compliant. So we needed to find a way, and this is through a signature scheme where we can actually prove cryptographically that the sender of the fiat is also the receiver of the Bitcoin. That's kind of the magic behind it. And also, at no point in time we hold the money of the customer, and we limit and we respect these limits. And so all these kind of regulations put together in a nice kind of setup, a nice legal and technical innovation, if you wanna say that was kind of solving this problem. Basically, we act like a Bitcoin ATM. In Switzerland, you can really go to any Bitcoin ATM. You put in 100 Swiss francs, you get out a paper wallet, and you're gone. You don't have to do any KYC, AML, no account, no nothing. Because also these Bitcoin ATMs, they respect these regulations, right? And then we were thinking, okay, why can't we just do this in an app? We'll basically find a way to do this in an app, which is obviously cool in a lot of ways, better than Bitcoin ATMs, because everybody can now use this Swiss Bitcoin API, Bitcoin ATM from the whole world. It would be like where are you in Britain? In England?
Unfortunately,
so
yes.
you're in England, right? You can't. It's not legal to smoke weed in England, right? But if you travel to Amsterdam, there it is legal, and then you can smoke as much as you want and get high and have fun, and it's legal. But you cannot do it in England. And same thing here. You're from England. It's maybe forbidden to buy KYC-less Bitcoin there. But you can travel to Switzerland and use a Bitcoin ATM. And you can also do this digitally. It doesn't have to be physically. You can digitally travel to our country and use our digital Bitcoin ATM and go back, and that's legal. So we can actually scale this to the whole world, which is the goal.
That's very cool. And so you said that obviously you didn't have a tech background. What was it like saying, okay, I've got this idea, this is what I want to build, and then actually having to build this app and get people involved? Because I'll firstly give a shout out to Satoshi Baggins, who reached out to me and said, look, you've got to have this call, explained what you guys were doing. I knew of it, but he went into a little bit more detail. Who's helping build it? Are these kind of guys involved? Or did you have someone right from the beginning involved in actually building the application?
It was a very messy process. in hindsight, it was very messy. Like, a lot of people kind of got involved and they left again, and a lot of promises and a lot of ideas that then didn't realize or materialize, and it was very messy. But I really like how it unfolded. It was not easy, it was not efficient, but it was community driven. It was a chaos where people with kind of the same vision got together and tried to do something, and in the end something magical came out. And without one guy being like dominant, I never saw myself as like the authority, or like I'm the boss of this or whatever. It was really like just an idea that seemed to attract people, and then people came and they come and go. They came, they left again, they did stuff, and everybody kind of contributed. So it was really, from the beginning, like Bitcoin itself, a community effort, which is what I really, really like about the project.
That's cool. It's like you say, it's very, very Bitcoin. It's fascinating for me. This industry is so different in that way, to see people, whatever it is you need help with, if you have a good idea and people are like, yeah, that would be useful, or I like it. People are so willing to jump in and help and give advice or lend a hand. And it's very rare to see that in any other industry. It's just fun to be around.
Absolutely.
People don't seem to hold things so close to their chest and be so mean. People are very willing to help. I love it. Like, it just gives a lot of energy. It makes the whole thing more fun.
For sure, and it really enables such projects to come alive, because there was so much effort and so much work being done for no cash, just because people had passion for it and they wanted to help make this happen. It really started, and when first year. We all, no more even probably first 1.5 years, where we all talked about it a lot and worked on it and went to startup competitions, went to hackathons, and just tried to get these things off the ground. It was a lot of work being done, technical work, marketing work, legal work, community building work, business planning, strategy, and everything. And so many people contributing. There was no money involved. Nobody wanted money off it. It was just really, they just wanted to make it happen because they wanted to see this app out there. And that's really, as you say, this is unique to the Bitcoin community. I've never found an area or an industry or a topic where there's quite such a passion, for really doing things without any financial motive or whatever.
Yeah, it's incredible. And did you find that when you have all these people jumping in and helping, did the project evolve sort of organically, and as you went along, new ideas were thrown in? Or did you have a very, very clear vision from the start of exactly what you wanted and it stuck to that, or did it evolve naturally?
I think the vision was really clear and uncompromised from the beginning. Like, we wanted to make it easy for people to invest in Bitcoin. That was like the North Star, which still is the exact same now and will still be the exact same in 10 years from now. We're not going to stop working towards this before every person in this world, has an easy access to Bitcoin. Okay, so this is the North Star basically forever. But then the rest of the process, like the ideas and the work and the creativity and different approaches, were obviously tested and experimented with and discussed and prototyped. That was very messy and very creative, and that there were a lot of different things that and things went well and other things didn't. there it was not structured or efficient at all, and changed a lot. But the North Star was really always the same, and I think that's important to give continuity and to give a very clear orientation. Where do we want to go? Then how you get there, this is always going to be very messy.
Yeah, and like you say, getting those other 99% of people to buy some Bitcoin, to hold, to understand the ethos is not an easy thing. So you have to have a very, very strong vision and be uncompromising and work fucking hard, because it's not that the world is not cheering us on. Let's say
Not always, no.
there's a huge amount of friction. I can only imagine the friction, even if you are in Switzerland, I can only imagine the friction that you have to deal with running something like this. But is there moves that you're looking at to expand, not necessarily outside of Europe, let's say, to expand and reach people who maybe wouldn't otherwise see this or understand why it's important? How are you looking at marketing it? How are you looking at reaching people who, especially over the coming years, it looks like are going to seriously need this? You know, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world. The money printers are going burr. They're only going to keep ramping up. So how do you look at that?
Yeah, exactly. As you say, the faster the better. We really, the ultimate goal is that everybody can be involved in Bitcoin, has easy access to Bitcoin. So the first obvious step for us is really to build kind of the infrastructure for it, so that we can allow the app to be downloaded in every country. Right now we're focused on Europe only. We're also quite young still, so that it's still going to take us quite some months and maybe years to be available, to make the app available in every country, and also to accept every currency, every local currency. Right now we only accept Swiss francs and euro, so that's why we're quite focused on Europe. So the first step, we need to have the infrastructure to be international at all. But that's kind of that's just a technical problem. That's not there's no magic behind that. We will solve that. It just takes some time. And then how we want to reach all these people, I really think about it like a viral. We need to have this in some way a viral development. If you look at the coronavirus, how the coronavirus reached every country in the world and a lot of people globally within a year or two, then I think we can learn a lot from that. How we can reach a lot of people. Basically, how the coronavirus did it. It started locally, very locally, and it didn't have a big marketing budget or everything. It was really peer to peer.
I don't know. This I think the marketing budget for coronavirus is pretty massive these days.
Yeah, that's true.
To sell a product and service that is so stupid to so many people takes some serious planning and a lot of money, because everyone has fallen for it hook, line and sinker. They're wearing their little masks. They're closing their businesses down. They're giving up their freedoms, and they're celebrating it. They absolutely fucking love it, especially over here. It is quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, your point. But what I try to get across is really like it's about small networks, and it's always people referring it to other people. That's what I think works best. And also for us now, it worked best so far. Like the referral program, we had a very small marketing budget, so Google Ads and stuff. That kind of works as well, but that's not what's going to make it global phenomena. And also, we do a lot of social media engagement and community building and stuff, and that all works. But I think what will work the most is if people start referring it to other people, like with the coronavirus. If you infect someone and this guy infects another one, that's how we can make it really global, really fast. And that's why I think the referral, that would be my answer. The referral program is we really need to be at a point where people love the app so much that they are happy to refer it to other people, and then incentivize this in a clever way so that both parties have something from it. Like right now, if you refer the app to someone, this person gets a small reduction on the fees. So this person is happy because it can stack sats for less, and you get kind of a kickback. So you're happy because you can earn some sats with that, and so everybody's happy. And so that's how we think about growing it globally then.
It's something we learn about in this space, incentive structures, and Bitcoin has the best incentive model on the planet.
100%.
So yeah, there's a lot to be learned from that. And yeah, back to the point of the virus, this is a virus I'd very much like to see spread. The more sats we can get in people's hands, the better. As much as I'm for all these ballers coming in and billionaires and Tesla buying and all this kind of stuff, which is great for the price, I think really we need to get this into the hands of the people who need it, and services like this are the way to do it. So I'm very much for that. How do you see that changing the world if you manage to do this and you change that number from 1% global penetration and we get into double digits? How do you see the world changing over the coming years?
I hope to see it changing towards people having more time and being able to make better decisions and really care less about money, about saving. Because now, if you want to save, it's a hard thing. You really need to almost have a degree in finance to get your wealth stored in a good way. And because of the inflation, because the loss of the purchasing power is getting lost, we always running and working. We need to get more money in, and we need to spend it as fast as possible because otherwise it depreciates. And so these cycles, I really hope to see these cycles breaking in the next couple of years, and like a world with better time preference, basically. So like Saifedean says in his book, The Bitcoin Standard, like the time preference where people really have a stable or even slightly appreciating store of value, so that they have time to really make the right decisions and do quality work and to make good investments. That's what I would like to see, like a golden age again, as he in this book he explains it, when we had the actual gold standard, the non-diluted gold standard, the original one, where people had a lot of time to spend on their work, on their craft, on art, on architecture, and everything. I really hope we can get to this kind of situation back, whereas now we definitely are far away from that.
There's a lot of fiat fuckery that's going on at the moment. It's not great. It's frustrating because we know what humans are capable of. And now that we have technology, we've seen what's possible hundreds of years ago. We've seen the architecture, we've seen the art, we've seen what people can do. And yeah, it feels like we're really holding ourselves back. So it could be such an exciting time. And also just the time for people to think, for people to actually consider what they're doing in life rather than running around like headless chickens just trying to pay the bills, which, and decide what pair of trainers they need to buy to show off to their friends that they don't even really like anyway. It's just, it is such a fucking weird situation.
100%. Mate, I really enjoyed the conversation. I need to go into a meeting in 5 minutes, so I would really appreciate if we could wrap it up. But it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. It's been great chatting to you, and the product's fantastic. I'm going to be suggesting it to my friends and everyone in Europe. It's nice to have something out there that sits in the middle of all the different options. And yeah, it's been great fun. So thanks very much, and good luck in the meeting.
Thank you very, very much. It was really a nice kind of philosophical discussion, which I really liked. And I'm definitely going to subscribe to your podcast and also refer it to newcomers and other Bitcoiners. And just a suggestion, maybe if you really want to, you don't have to, but if you really want to, become a referrer, you as a person who has some reach with your podcast, you can send me an email and ask for a referral page. So we can make you a referral page so that you have like a link that links to a page where there's your podcast also and your photo and maybe a little quote why you refer Relai, and then your code. We can make you an individual code. You can call it, pleb or max or whatever. And then people who use this code to buy their Bitcoin, they get a fee reduction and you get some kickback. So if you want that, just feel free to send me an email with your photo and your quote, and then I'm happy to create you a landing page.
Cool. All right, mate. I appreciate that. We'll speak in the background. I won't take any more of your time. Enjoy your meeting. And really, really good speaking to you. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thank you, mate. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.